Hello, beautiful. It's Jo again, and today we are discussing week 17 of my intermittent fasting lifestyle with rolling extended fasts of 88 hours, the crazy 88s. And today I want to specifically talk more about clean fasting versus dirty fasting versus modified fasting. Now, here's what I mean by that. I have learned much more over the last 16, 17 weeks what is allowable and what is not allowable. And I've made several experiments and different things I've tried to determine what works for me. And in the general scheme of things, I would like to keep my fasting as clean as possible. Now, what that means is the more I've learned, the more I've realized my fasts have been a lot dirtier than I'm happy about. So, for example, what I mean by being dirty is things that are going to stop some of the benefits of fasting. For example, if you've watched some of my previous videos, the debate about whether I could take glucosamine for my joint health. My knees are pretty crappy and that really helps me, but it is interfering with the autophagy. That is the conclusion that I have finally got a definitive answer about. So autophagy is where your body is recycling old proteins and old cells and getting that out of your body. It potentially is also using some of the proteins from your skin, which will help with lax skin potentially as I lose weight. But glucosamine is an amino acid. Glucosamine is messing with autophagy and stopping it. Therefore, I'm not getting the autophagy I was after. So, no more glucosamine on my fasting days. I'm also not planning to drink the bubbly, sparkling waters that I have been drinking on my fasting days throughout the last month or so. If you actually look back, you'll see that I pretty much plateaued last month. While I did have some more inch lost and redistribution of the visceral fats, I didn't actually lose any more pounds. And I'm questioning whether that was because it was dirty fasting. And it is in the last month that I had added the bubbly sparkling waters. And sparkling waters that have zero flavor are perceived, and generally the consensus is they're safe. Bubbly doesn't have fruit content. It has no calories, but it is infused with the fruit flavors. But it's not sweet fruit flavors exactly, but it is still real fruit flavors. And I question whether I'm getting an insulin spike out of that anyway, because the flavor can cause an insulin spike even if there's no sugar in anything. And I don't have any kind of monitors or ability to check whether I'm having the insulin spike. And it's just not a chance I'm willing to take at this point. I have diabetes in my family. I am not diabetic myself. I currently personally have no underlying health conditions besides a little white coat syndrome blood pressure issue and a little bit of a borderline cholesterol. But I have issues within my family that put me at risk, and I'm working hard to get those under control so that those don't become a problem for me. So my current goal is to try to keep my fasting as 100% clean as I possibly can. That means black coffee. Personally, I only drink that occasionally anyway. Green tea, also something only very occasional for me. Water. My morning vitamins on fasting days consist of my caffeine pill, my magnesium supplement that is very important for me. One, it is a mineral, so it's supposed to be free and clear and fine. And I have restless leg syndrome that is flared up from magnesium deficiency because I don't eat nearly enough leafy greens and some people get restless leg from completely different things, I guess. But the minute I take a magnesium supplement, that issue is resolved for me and I have no problems. So, caffeine, magnesium, the occasional allergy pill. Last week I had to take it for 2 days. I was feeling weird and my paranoia, is this COVID or is this just an allergy thing? Because we have a lot of wildfires in this area and it's fire season. That's a whole season here. And there's a lot of smoke in the air, and that was probably all it was because I'm feeling fine now. I'm just being very careful around everybody just in case. And my electrolyte supplement. I'm still taking the one called Salt Stick, which has the salt, it has the potassium, it has a little more magnesium. I don't know if that's enough magnesium, so I'm still taking my regular magnesium too. I don't think, generally speaking, when it comes to vitamins, if you overtake something, you just pee it out. So too much of a little bit too much is fine in this case. But that is it. That is everything I'm taking on my fasting days. I'm currently halfway through my crazy 88 for this week. So I won't eat again for a couple of more days. I'm about a day and a half into it. And everything's going great. Everything's been fine. No problems at all. I had 1 cup of coffee this morning, and that was it. That and water and my vitamins. Now, let's talk about clean fasting benefits. So you are going into the different stages of fasting, which ketosis, then you get into heavy ketosis, and then about, generally speaking, if you're clean enough, between 17 and 19 hours seems to be the consensus, and you hit autophagy. Then you get a boost of growth hormones. Human growth hormones can go up to 5 times more their normal amount, which negates a lot of the risk factors that people are often concerned about to your muscles. When you're fasting, people are like, oh, your heart is a muscle. It's going to hurt your muscles. As Dr. Jason Fung says, your body's not that stupid. It's going to protect yourself. It may burn a little bit of protein. It's not that much protein, generally speaking, per the studies. And most of the proteins that it wants to, there's so many cruddy proteins in your body, misfolded proteins, the things that create dementia and Alzheimer's. Excess skin is protein. And when you look back at people who starved, like emaciated starved, one of the things they tend to not have, excess skin, versus somebody who went through weight loss surgery and went into incredible calorie deficit, but they never actually starved, and then they have all this excess skin that they're dealing with. Those are 2 different animals. They're 2 different sides of the same coin. So by shooting for all that autophagy, one of the things I hope to do is affect my skin. After growth hormone, your body then reaches a level of insulin sensitivity, which, as a family of diabetics, is the best thing I could be shooting for. It is getting your body to burn fat for energy instead of glucose for energy. And that is why you want to keep your fast as clean as possible, especially if these are risk factors for you, because your body is, every time you do something that can cause an insulin spike. If you dirty fast, that means you may be drinking 0-calorie sodas and thinking it's 0 calories, I'm still fasting, but you're still causing an insulin spike, which means now your body is switching back to burning glucose instead of burning fat for fuel, and you're not burning off your own internal fats, and you're losing part of your benefits. You also, as you are reintroducing food, especially after an extended fast, you get the opportunity to carefully reintroduce food and learn what foods cause you problems, what foods cause you inflammation. Because, I mean, if you look back to my first 2 weeks of videos, it's not just weight loss, it's bloat and swelling and inflammation. And that's why I dropped so fast so quickly. I'm now at the stages where I am truly burning fat, which is going to go at a slow, steady trickle. Fasting life is a marathon, not a sprint. Things that happen quickly in the sprint stage, that was bloat and inflammation more than anything else. Now I'm in the marathon stage where I'm shooting for fat loss and fat burning and teaching my body what it really feels, and learning what my body really feels, because when your body is constantly in an inflamed state, one, if you're just eating all kinds of different foods, you learn. Some people get massive inflammation from sugars. So every time they eat sugars coming out of a fast, their body it's inflamed again, and they feel lethargic and yucky, and they learn what it does not work for their systems. I'm going to attach a picture right here of Dr. Mindy Pell's fasting by the hour chart. And that shows about when in a clean fast your body is reaching each of these general stages. And a lot of people find that very valuable information and help them decide where they want to go and how long they want to fast. Many people commonly fast much longer than I currently do. I am getting closer and closer every time I do an extended fast to thinking about doing something a little bit longer, especially now that I have the supplements, which are going to help me more with the few negative side effects I ever get. And that's a question I get. Well, what do you do when you get those bad side effects? What do you do about the headaches? What do you do about the dizziness and the weakness? And fasting was just the right one for me. I don't get many of those side effects. I rarely get headaches from it. I really don't. Every once in a while I may, but that's more just normal life than it is the fasting. I don't get the dizziness or the lightheadedness. The only thing I've ever gotten in the way of negative side effects is that very light muscle fatigue, usually by the third day in. And I've upped my electrolytes to try to compensate for that, because that is usually the reason a lot of those side effects are happening, let alone some people are cutting out caffeine too, and that's not an option for me. I like my caffeine pills. Dr. Mindy Pell's, I'll link below, has a lot of valuable information. And recently I was looking at one of her videos, and I'm considering rotating in some different eating plans. For the last 4 months, I have not been prepared to cut out carbs. I have cut back a little bit on carbs and tried to widen my food variety a little bit, but I haven't cut out any one thing. I am considering rotating in a month-long carnivore fast, or feast days in the middle of my fasts. So I would be keeping my feast and fast days exactly as they currently are, the crazy 88s. That is 3 days of fasting, 2 days feasting, 8 days of alternate day fasting, back to 3 days fasting. But on the feast days, I am considering doing a full carnivore for a month as a system reset, because your body just gets too used to things. And while I'm not prepared to long-term cut out carbs as of right now, and I don't really have a whole lot of interest or truly a whole lot of comprehension about keto, I haven't really wrapped my brain around what you can and can't eat on keto exactly. So that's a learning process for everybody, including me, very much. I can say that I understand carnivore. I understand what I can eat in carnivore and what are not good foods for carnivore. And I enjoy meat sometimes, and you can do a cheap or an expensive variation of carnivore depending on what your budget is. I mean, there may be things in it you don't love, but you can go carnivore off potted meat and Vienna sausages. It's an option. It's a thing. But that is a consideration. That is something I'm thinking about but have not committed to yet. We will see. If I do, it would probably begin at the next full 4 week. And I'm already a week into my current one. I'm going to continue clean fasting for this month and see how things go. And then we'll see how I feel at the next one. So talking a little bit more about dirty fasting. It's not a bad thing. Some people just can't get there when it comes to clean fasting. Some people need to take meds and need a little bit of something on their stomach. Bone broth is very commonly accepted as a dirty fast item. The apple cider vinegar is a dirty fast item. It's still, there's a lot of benefits to having it, but it may interfere a little bit with some of the extended fast benefits. But once again, we talked about the 0-calorie sodas. Bone broth is, but coming back to bone broth, like 12 ounces, the Swanson sipping cups, 12 ounces, 45 calories. Officially doesn't break your fast, but many good things in it. Collagen, protein, etc. Protein stops autophagy. So you have to look at what the benefits you want from fasting are to determine what you can do and what you can't do and what your body will accept. Now, modified fasting is a whole nother animal. In my personal opinion, it's not truly fasting, but it is called fasting. But we are talking about, generally speaking, what a modified fast is this. 500 or so calories is often the go-to number. And what it properly is you look up your total day energy expenditure number, your TDEE. You take 25% of that number. So if your TDEE is around 2,000 calories, which is a somewhat normal number, then you take 25% of that, which is around 500. So if you're higher, it may be 600 calories. And you can eat within that window. What you eat in that window is completely up to you, how clean you keep it. For example, if you eat keto, then you can still stay in ketosis, even though you may mess up autophagy and insulin sensitivities and all of the real benefits of fasting. You're still getting some of them. What it truly is calorie restriction in a different way. Instead of daily calorie restriction, your choice is to do modified fast, regular food day, modified fast, regular food day. And what's happening if you do that is you're just doing calorie restriction, but you're doing it in a way that's considerably less harmful to your metabolism in the long run. So I'm not a fan of regular calorie restriction. One, it is just way too deprived feeling for me. I feel like I'm just having to never let myself have anything I want, and that does not work for me in the long term, which is why alternate day eating what I want on my feast days within reason has worked so well for me because I've gone out of my way not to feel deprived. But you still, at modified, get the ability to still cut a considerable number of calories out of your week while not feeling nearly as deprived. So it feels like a much more sustainable calorie restriction. So just bear in mind, your body produces a hormone called ghrelin around about the times it's used to you eating. It is false hunger. It is not true hunger. It will go away in like 30 minutes if you ignore it. Some people have harder days. I've had occasional days where I'm just hungry all day. It doesn't happen very often, and it's not that hard for me to ignore. It's really not that bad for me. It's just my thing. Who knew that no food was my thing? I mean, I've been a big girl for a long time, and I just never understood fasting, and I'd never tried it, and I didn't understand that that was false hunger. I'm starving. You're not. It's going to go away in a minute because you're not really hungry. It's a physical reaction to a hormone, and it's going to go away in a minute. trust me, your stomach's not going to keep rumbling that way, and it's not going to keep doing the thing. So maybe you build up to it. But in summary, clean fast versus dirty fast versus modified fast. Very different animals, very different benefits and effects. But you can start in one, experiment. There's so many different fasting methods, time frames. 16/8 is a very commonly accepted one. The circadian rhythm fasting, where you just fast in the dark hours and eat a normal, healthy balance in the daytime, is an option. A friend of mine is trying that currently, and she's just recently started it, and I look forward to seeing how that goes for her. I think fasting is great for just about everybody. So it's all about what you're looking for in your fast, whether you want to be clean, dirty, or fully modified. Really think hard about what your goals are and how your body reacts to it. Once again, I have none of those negative side effects to speak of. This was the right one for me. I'm no doctor. I don't have any sort of medical training. This is based on Googling, research, listening to people who know a lot more than me who've done their research. Dr. Jason Fung is a doctor in Canada who is a nephrologist, and he discovered what a benefit it was, and he's become very much a well-known expert on it. He has some great books out there. I'll link them below. The Fasting Method, the Obesity Code. He's got a couple of books out there that have some really great information. But more than anything else, you just have to make that decision. What do you want out of fasting? And maybe this is just where you have to start, but eventually you can shift over to the next level. So maybe you need to start modified 500-600 calories a day, but eventually maybe you can work over to a dirty fast. There are a lot of studies out there that don't have the best results for fasting, but majority of those studies used modified fasting. They didn't base the study on true fasting, whether clean or dirty, and that gave really skewed results. So do your research. Read the books. Dr. Fung, I highly recommend, although there's a lot of other great experts out there. And just for example, one I've mentioned before, a faster on YouTube. He does keto. He does a lot of stuff. He used to be a really big guy, and now he's just incredibly buff and fit. And his name is Thomas DeLauer. And one of the great things about him, and some people have a hard time with it, but it's really valuable information, is that he uses science to back up what he's telling you. He's not just randomly telling you what he heard like I do. He is talking about the science and talking about specific studies, and that helps so much. Now I want you to think about what you want to do, the results you want from fasting. That can help you determine how extreme you want to take it, and maybe you have to just do it in stages. Now you have a beautiful day and a beautiful week, and I will catch you on the flip side. Officially doesn't exactly break your fast. So